my perception of that, put a child on a bus for half hour to an hour to go to the other side of the city was a waste of that child's time and effort. And the only kids that were on the bus were the poor whites and the poor blacks, because the white kids, if their parents could afford it, moved to the suburbs. So you had the white flight. And the black kids, if they could go to a parochial school or go to the suburbs like the white families. So the only kids that were left here to go on those buses were the poor whites and the poor blacks. And to me, that was uncalled for. And I felt very strongly about that issue, that every child should be able to go to their neighborhood school.
Every child to their neighborhood school. Were you of the opinion that all things were equal with all neighborhood schools? Was that the general consensus?
Well, I would hope that they all be equal, because regardless of your race, you should have equal opportunity in schools or even in employment. And I felt always very strongly about that issue.
So, do you think the goals of desegregation were realized?
Well, the Cleveland school system today never recovered from court-ordered busing. That was the worst thing that ever happened to the school system. Now, Lou Stokes was a wonderful gentleman. They couldn't come any nicer than Lou Stokes, who I served with for 8 years in Congress. And to his dying day, I'm sure he would say busing was the greatest thing since apple pie. Carl Stokes, who later became a municipal judge, I asked him one day when I was down in the courthouse, I said, what did you think of this issue of court-ordered busing? And he said to me it was a big mistake.
So what do you think would have shaped those two diametrically opposed views from brothers that grew up in the same area? What is it, do you think they each saw differently?
Well, I think Carl was a practical politician, and he saw what damage it did to the school system. Today, I don't think the Cleveland school system has ever recovered from that quarter of busing. So I don't know if the Cleveland school system will ever recover from that issue. Hopefully it will, because every kid should have a decent and wonderful education and equal opportunity, but I don't see that happening in Cleveland.